it is my pleasure to introduce today's guest speaker, Jennifer Bryant. Jennifer is a partner at Noerr, based in Germany. Her practice focuses on international disputes, often before international arbitral tribunals, but also state courts in Germany and the US. She represents clients in all aspects of contractual disputes, complex damages proceedings, and corporate disputes. And she's acting both as counsel and arbitrator. Jennifer is qualified to practice in Germany and in California. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, of course, so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. And it was funny when you read my profile. This is the first thing, that people will know about me on this call is what my profile is. So I think discussing how to build and why to build a profile within the law firm rather than just only outside, I think it's a really interesting topic and a topic that's dear to my heart. So let's delve right into it. I will, fingers crossed, share my screen if that works. So let's see, share, and we want to share screen number 2. There we go. So we practiced and it worked. So hopefully you will see the cover page of the presentation. If not, just give me a sign. Otherwise, I will start to make the most of the time today. So this episode's topic is building your profile within the law firm. And the questions that I want to discuss with you today is, what is a professional profile to begin with? Is there a definition? Is it something that means everything, or is it the same thing for everyone else? And the second question following up directly up on this is, what is your profile? What could your profile be, and how could it change over time? The third question, and I think a question a lawyer should always ask, is why? And why should you build a profile within your law firm? And then the fourth question is, finally, how do you do that? How can you build your profile within your firm? However big or small, diverse or not diverse in terms of topics your firm is, but there's always room for you to develop your own profile. And the fifth question, I think, is also something to be discussed, is how or who could you talk to? How, when building your profile, how could you find someone to support you, to help you? Who are the people that you maybe need to talk to, need to discuss with? All these things are the things we want to address today. And then we will have some words of conclusion and hopefully a lively and interesting discussion afterwards. So now you should see the second slide. Please nod if you do, and then I'm going to continue. So the first question I want to address is, what is a professional profile, just in terms of definition, if there ever is one? And I think the answer is, there's no clear definition, of course, and it may mean something different for each individual person. But I think in general, it is, your profile is what you are known for. A lawyer's profile is what the lawyer is known for. And that has different aspects to it. It's, of course, expertise. It's expertise when it comes to substantive law to be applied. Do you work in corporate law? Then your profile may be one within corporate law. Do you work in disputes like I do? Then your profile may be a disputes lawyer, and then something more refined than that. It also comes with procedural aspects that you have expertise in. If you take the disputes aspect, for example, I do arbitration. I also do a little bit of state court litigation. But there are different forms. There are lawyers who have ample experience, for example, with mediation and other forms of ADR. There are lawyers who have more expertise when it comes to state court litigation than there is arbitration. So again, this is all part of your profile and of refining your profile to think of what is a professional part, or what are the factors that make up for your professional profile. It's, of course, also expertise when it comes to particular situations and circumstances. A very bland language. What does that mean? It means, again, if you work in, let's say, mergers and acquisitions, typical forms of transactions, or maybe atypical forms of transactions. Maybe there's a very particular style of transactions that you've worked on that you have expertise in, and that may form part of the profile. It may form part of the profile having worked in emergency situations, all these kinds of things. So again, it comes down to a lot of expertise, but don't think expertise just in terms of what kind of law do I practice, German law versus US law, for example. But expertise is something very refined and something, whatever you make of it, something that can be marketed. Same thing when it comes to industry knowledge. Also, that forms part of your expertise and with that part of your profile. So have you worked in specific industries? Are there specific rules applicable or usages that you know of, which makes you the best lawyer to handle cases within this industry? Then that's part of your profile. And then, of course, also if you speak certain languages, that is part of your profile as well. If you work in a German law firm, but you speak English very well, that's part of your profile. If you work in a German law firm and you speak French or Spanish or whatever other language, that does form part of a professional profile. Something that clients would look up if they had to choose whatever lawyer, they would go to industry books, to rankings, and then they would look into the know-how that that particular lawyer has. And the same thing can go within your firm. So your internal clients, how do they find you? Through your profile. And what is that? That is what your expertise is. And now a little more specific. What is your profile? So coming with the hard facts as opposed to soft skills. And I think both of it makes your profile. Both of those factors can form your profile, and you can use both of these factors to form your profile. So first, the hard facts coming from, again, your expertise, your work. Have you handled certain types of matters? Again, like I said, certain types of transactions or certain types of procedures, if you do disputes, certain types of negotiations, maybe. Negotiating with state representatives may be different from negotiating with private companies. Again, this may make your profile. This may be something worthwhile looking into. You look into the big picture, but if you find small things, small factors that may be very particular and that may make you, then that is part of your profile, depending on when and what you want to showcase. Have you gained knowledge about certain legal issues? Have you studied certain particularities? Have you studied space law, for example? I don't work in space law. I've never worked on a case that involved space law, but maybe if I had worked on that in college or in law school, that's something to put on my profile as well. Just in case there's ever a matter that involves this law, and someone else within the firm will say, "Oh, good, I have someone in my firm that knows space law, so I want to have that person on my team." If you've visited workshops or conferences, everything where you say you've gained some interesting, some valuable knowledge that may take you further, that may help on cases, that is part of your profile. It can be part of your profile if you wanted to, and if you make it part of your profile. Of course, if you have a USP, a unique selling point, something that sets you apart from everyone else, where you say, well, I'm in a team of 25 lawyers who all do international arbitration, but I'm the only person who knows Arabic law, for example, then of course that's part of your profile. That's something that will help whenever there's a case that involves any of these questions. And then someone will turn to you, or can turn to you if they know you, and involve you with that matter. So again, of course, anything that sets you apart is part of your profile. And then for languages, of course, if you spend some time abroad, if you've learned a certain language in school, in law school, or just privately, again, all these things, there's a whole, I want to say bunch of things, a whole bowl of interesting factors about you. And all of these can make or can be part of your profile, depending on where you want to sell yourself and sell your services, who you want to talk to, and what could be valuable and interesting. So think about again, don't think about the big picture only. That's part of your profile, of course. You're a lawyer, you're German, US, UK lawyer, you are a disputes lawyer. Those are the big things. But the smaller things that refine your profile, those are the ones that you maybe want to looking for as well to form your very particular profile. Like I said, there are hard factors coming from your expertise, from your knowledge, from the work you've done. Why is work as part of the expertise so important? Because the more you work, of course, the more experience you gain, but also the more people you will meet. The more you will talk to other people, the more they will meet you and they will get to know you, both on a professional, but also on a, I want to say, professional, personal level. And this again also helps forming a profile within your firm. So of course, the first source of everything is the work you do, and the more work you get, the more refined your profile is going to be. But in addition to those hard facts, there are also soft factors. Questions like, are you creative when it comes to looking for a solution, for example? Are you maybe very data focused? Are you interested in or even have a knack for working with big data and analyzing them? Maybe you can work tools, Excel spreadsheets. That's something that I would value very much because I can't do that very well. So whoever works with me and is able to do these things, I welcome that very much, for example. So it's, to me, it's part of your profile if you can do that. If you like to, do a very profound research of documents and dig very deep into questions that form both on the factual and on the legal side, that's part of your profile when you say, well, I'm really, give me the box of documents, or now it's online, but the figurative box of documents, and then just I'll lock myself into my room for the next couple of hours, and I come out and they're very structured. That's part of your profile. If you're very empathetic, that may be part of your profile as well. Why is that so? Because people will choose you based on your profile and also based on those soft factors. So there may be people, partners, peers, other lawyers within the firm that will say, I want to work particularly with that one person because I like them very much on a personal level. We get along very well. We have a good, that person has a good feeling for situations, has a very high EQ, and that will help me with the case. And there will be others who say, actually, I don't mind that, but I don't need that. I handle my cases differently. So it really depends on who you work with. But again, it's also part of your profile. Of course, your timing. If you always deliver on time, that will be part of your profile because then the people who work with you or potentially look into working with you, they will say, well, this is a person I really want to spend time with on a matter because I know what I get and when I get it. Whereas if you have a reputation for being slow, or for not turning in the work when promised or how promised, that may reflect badly on your reputation. And then when the next matter comes in, maybe that other person, partner, whatever, says, well, this is time critical. I may choose someone else for this case just to be on the safe side. So I think the takeaway here really is treat your clients within, as if you will, the same way as you would treat your clients on the outside. Your clients within are the other partners, are the other, are your peers, are the lawyers, everyone who is in a position to involve you in something. Everyone who is in a position to give you work, those are the persons that will determine if your profile is the right fit. So that's why also the last question is a question that can be asked, and that is, are you sociable? If you're sociable, if you're nice to talk to, if you're nice to hang around with, that doesn't inform at all how you work. It doesn't affect the way you work, and it doesn't affect the way or the work products that you deliver, not at all. But it may influence on how someone sees you and if someone wants to work with you. Not all of these boxes need to be ticked at the same time and for the same person. There will be issues where someone says, I'm involving this person, even though I may not like them very much, but they're the best for this case because they have the required expertise and no one else has that. But there may also be cases where there's a bunch of people to choose from because they all have a similar profile when it comes to that particular case and their requirements. And then it may be interesting for that person that chooses you, for the partner that involves you, if you're good to talk to, if it's a matter where you have to travel a lot together. Of course, it's always nice. You work during the day, you sit in the hotel, you have dinner together. It's nice if you can have a personal word as well. If you can have a nice conversation outside of the mere matter and the legal aspects of the matter. So these things can all help. As I recall having a conversation with one of my partners from another department who has disputes every once in a while, and we work together a lot. But for some dispute, it involved someone else, and then he said, "Well, that person probably it's a good worker, and the work products are fine, but it just doesn't click. I just don't get that person. I don't get that person on a personal level. When I talk to her, it's difficult. It's not really not reciprocal. So the working relationship is fine. No one has done anything wrong. It's just those two persons don't click. And again, that also may inform your profile when someone has any work to give and to choose. So just to sum up this part, is what is your profile? Your profile is not a clear definition. It's also what you make of it, of course, but basically it's what you're known for. It's what you're known for outside. And for the purposes of this call, of this session, it's what you're known for within your own firm, both based on your professional expertise, but also based on whatever other soft factors you have that may inform on the decision to involve you in whatever matter there's around. And just to sort of give you a spoiler and show that we should continue with our questions, usually the people around you will never know your full profile. Of course, it changes over time, and it may have different focuses depending on what you've done before and what you're doing right now. But it's always interesting to see if you talk to other persons in your firm, how little they really know about you. They have some general idea about what you do, but what it really means, they often don't know. Again, a little bit of a story here. So I work in international arbitration, as Svetlana said. And sometimes I get involved by our corporate partners when it comes to arbitration clauses. So they're negotiating whatever contracts, they call, say, okay, we're almost done. We have this clause. It's not a deal breaker. It can't be a deal breaker, but just give me some pointers. Is that fine? And in one of those situations, they called again and they said, we've got 3 different options here for potential rules that we want to choose in this very international transaction. There were different ideas. There was Hong Kong, there was I think the ICC or Swiss, I don't recall, and there was someone had suggested Vienna rules, and then they called and said, so I think with Vienna we have an issue because do we know good lawyers in Vienna who could work in an arbitration that's pursuant to Vienna arbitration rules? And I said, we can do that. Everyone in this firm who does arbitration can do that because whatever institution is chosen doesn't inform on, we've worked with all these kinds of different institutions. If you have the Hong Kong institution, you don't need Hong Kong lawyers. If you have London, SCIA, you don't need London lawyers necessarily. That's something they just didn't know because they've never really thought about, I think, what it means to have a profile as an arbitration lawyer. So just this little story and backstory to give you an understanding of how it works in a firm often and how little people know about you. You may think you're very well known for certain things, for certain proficiencies, but basically those really still need to be marketed because otherwise people would not notice and just wouldn't know what you're capable of and what you can do and why you should be chosen for a matter. So and this was almost a little bit preemptively, but the question of why should you build a profile, the first thing, and that's why I put it in bold language, is people need to know about you to hire you. That applies internally just as much as externally. So if they don't know what you do, if they don't know, to put it very blunt, if they don't know you exist, basically, then of course they can't hire you. And hiring within the firm means involving you in cases, which then in turn gives you more expertise and sharpens your profile. So finally, also looking at the time, how do you build a profile? How do you do that? Again, I think we built upon that already. The basic first step really is through your work. Through work, you gain experience, you gain expertise. Through work, you meet other people, you meet your colleagues, you meet other partners who then can become testimonials, who will talk to other ones maybe and say, just to take you, Svetlana, as an example, who will say, I've worked with Svetlana in this one case, and she was very experienced. She did a very good job. So your next case, give it to her because she's really good. And that's how you build your case and your business within the firm, is through work, through experience from work, and through experience with other partners who can talk about you. And that's why I think it's really important to treat your internal work and work relationships just as much as respectful as you would treat your external clients. And then the second question, of course, is now you have all that experience, you've gained all that expertise, but how do people know about you? How do they know about your profile? And I think it's the same as building an external profile. It's marketing to some extent. It's marketing activities. Of course, the more you are known on the outside externally, that will reflect on being known inside as well, of course. So if you're involved in all of these rankings and what have you, that may be noticed in your firm as well, but that's not all. You can do the same thing internally. You can do that through publications, both external publications that you may then send around. You can do that through speaking engagements. Of course, this external speaking engagement like today, that's fine. But there will be, and if not, you may create them, there will be opportunities to do the same thing within your firm. Maybe there's a corporate lunch where you say, you know what, I'd like to give, a 10-minute presentation about my case arbitration. Maybe other way around, there's a dispute lunch and you as a transactional lawyer say, you know what, I want to just give you 10 minutes presentation about how a transaction works and what typical what you typically find in an SPA. Or whatever part of your profile is, take that and bring that to another group of people who do not share the same experience. You can do that within your team, but you can also do that maybe in other teams, depending on how your law firm is set up. But don't shy away from these opportunities, especially if you're being asked to do that. It's always a little uncomfortable speaking in front of people, even more so if you don't know them very well. But always think about it's a great opportunity, and afterwards they will know you, that's for sure. You can do that through internal news or insights, or maybe you have sort of like a social network, some kind of landing page on your intranet in your firm. Maybe there's something you can post every once in a while. Maybe you post something on LinkedIn where you share connections with a lot of colleagues of yours. So sometimes it's just the small steps. It doesn't have to be the big bang marketing step, but it's small ones. It's just reminding people that you exist and what you are capable of. And also be sociable at firm events. Of course, if you have a summer party, a holiday party, everyone is 3 drinks in. Don't start talking about a very particular legal issue that may be difficult for the other person to digest. But if you're sociable, if that's what part of your personality is, then show that part of your professional personality. Show that you're empathetic, that you can hold a conversation. That may also go so far when that person has to choose again, and they will remember and say, "Oh, I had this really nice conversation with that one person from the disputes department. I'll ring her up if I have a next case." And just be open, speak to people, have a coffee every once in a while or lunch, and don't do that within your particular set of or group of work friends or teammates. But again, if you step out of your comfort zone and every once in a while talk to someone you do not yet know very well, that may go very far. And then last but not least, and I think we covered a lot of this already, who in the firm could you talk to? Again, it's about cross-selling. If you could choose, what is that one dream matter that you want to work on? Or what's the next area that you want to tackle? If there's something, tell your partner, tell the partner you work with. Say, whenever there's the space law case, I'd like to be put on it because I'm interested in that and I want to learn. And then I want to gain that expertise and experience. And then that's something where the partner will say, oh, that's a good idea. Let's add that to your profile. Think about who you've never worked with before, just to become more reputable and known. Talk to someone in your group you haven't talked to before. Again, are there other areas in your practice where you could support with your knowledge? If you're in a firm that has a wide array of services, talk to that other groups and see if they need your help with something or if you can support them. And of course, always think of it as a two-way street. You could think about how you support them, but you could also think about maybe you need to involve them in some matter, and then it's just referring work to each other will go a very long way, if you ask me. So these are the key takeaways. I can only urge you to welcome every matter that you handle because it always will provide an opportunity to build or extend or strengthen your profile in whatever way, because you will gain experience. Other people will get to know you and get to know you on a personal and professional level. And then use or create opportunities to talk to other people in the firm, to again cross-sell or market your expertise. Don't do it too eagerly, I have to say. Be charming and casual about it, but every once in a while it does help to talk to other people. And of course, always think about your team as well. It's not just you. If you're a first-year associate and you approach another partner and say, I'm the only one who can do disputes in this firm, that may not be very relatable. So, of course, it's always also about your team. What is your team capable of? And not just you, and not just your individual profile. And then lastly, I think I said that before. You really don't need to tick all the boxes. These are all just little things that may inform your profile, and your profile may change, and be open to that change and adapt. And it's really just about how you fit, and how you can provide the right fit for the next matter that you should be involved in. That's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, for this very insightful presentation. It's now time for our Q&A session, and I invite all the participants to write in the chat if you have a question or write your question. To kick it off, I'll ask a question myself. So, what advice would you give associates who feel like they've either missed an opportunity or they've made a miss up that impacted the way partners or other senior lawyers see them in the firm? How can they recover and get back on track?
I think it obviously depends on the mistake, and it may also depend on how that particular partner has reacted. If it's someone who knew you before, or if it's someone you've never worked with before. I think if it's something and within your team, everyone makes mistakes every once in a while, unfortunately. Some are more brave than the other ones, but it does happen. And I think if it happens within your team, your partner should be able to understand that, and you should just on the next matter do it differently. If it was something more serious, I think I'd address it heads up. If it's, however, if it involved a partner that I do not work with very well, I wouldn't go to them directly and explain or so, depending on if the case is over. I think, again, I would go through someone who's closer to me, my lead partner, if I had one, or supervising partner, someone who could then try to ease that out with the other partner and explain and say, this is not typical of him or her. This is not what I'm used to. There may have been an issue, but I think that would be something actually that would be better solved on the partner level.
Thank you very much. And one more question. From your experience as partner, as senior lawyer supervising associates and juniors, what are the most common mistakes that you've seen juniors or mid-level associates do when they're trying to raise their profile and do business development? And what would be your advice on how to avoid them?
So I think starting with the softer ones, if you will, like I said, I think if it's too eager, if it's too much at once, especially, I always want to say it's a marathon rather than a sprint. And what I mean by that is, you start off as a junior lawyer, you have a lot of time, and if you start too eagerly, and you jump from, I don't know, conference to conference, and then you put out a lot of articles without involving anyone. I think that's something that may be damaging in the end, even because it doesn't say you have team spirit. It doesn't say, you're in this for the long run, but you exhaust yourself and your potential also very soon, and very at a very early stage. So I think it should be, and it sounds a little condescending, but for lack of a better expression, I think it should be seniority appropriate. And then you just adapt over time it becomes more focused. Over time it becomes a bigger, of course, if you're invited for a speaking engagement, I would always say do that. But it's yeah, I think it's really it's about being relative to your work and to your age. So if someone has the impression that there's a lot of marketing but not so much to back it up, that may backfire. So I think that would be one of the most or more serious mistakes that I've seen, that which is great. Young, ambitious people, we love ambition. That's not the issue, but if it's too ambitious, it can backfire.
Thank you very much. And we have a question from Michaela.
Thank you, Jennifer and Sveta. I have a question about becoming a partner, which I understand is one of the most important steps when you work in a law firm. And this is particularly relevant to building your own profile, right? Because you have to rely a lot on your peers' recommendations and review of your work. Do you have any tips for that, for those who are planning ahead to become a partner? How to lay the foundation in time, so when you reach the point, you can make a good case for yourself?
Yes. Again, I think if you think about that early on and start to build slowly but steadily, that's good. We always see candidates that are up for promotion. And again, I think, of course, that depends on how the promoting system works in the different firms. But with us, there's a certain point where people are for the next step, and some of them then all of a sudden get very active, and you get invited to lunches, and if I just wanted to say hi, it's like I haven't seen you in 10 years, and now it's very obvious. I mean, it's nice, good to see your face, but it would have been nicer to have that a year ago. So I think it's if you do that on a more charming level, steadily, every once in a while with slow steps, that's helpful. And I think in our firm and in many other firms as well, it's really key that people know you, that people have something good to say about you, that people when they see your name say, oh yes, I can add to the success story. I've worked with that person as well once or twice, and it was always very good, very successful. So I can fully support that person being up for promotion. So I think the more people know you, the better it is. And again, comes of course with working with a lot of different people in the firm.
Thank you. And Ilka has the next question.
Thank you, Sveta and Jenny, for your great presentation. Coming back to your differentiation of soft factors and hard factors, and the point you raised, indeed, which is, I think, important, that it's also a question of individual in oneself, for sure, and the factors one where one wants to cross the box, but also the boxes needed to be ticked with the opponent or the person one is working with. If a young lawyer is working on his or her concrete hard and soft factors, would there be any priority you could advise on, or where should one have the focus?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think you can train being empathetic, for example. That's just, either you are or you're not. There's, of course, you can put yourself, if you're very, I don't even know what the opposite of empathetic is, but judgment-free. If you're a person who's not very empathetic, but maybe very, very data-driven, very straightforward, maybe that's sort of the opposite. I think you can work on that skill a little bit, just to take a step back and think about how that other person could feel right now, just to train that perspective a little more. I think the same goes for being sociable. I don't think everyone needs to be very open and an extrovert. There's a lot of people that are introverts, actually, and that's perfectly fine. But maybe every once in a while you do step out of your comfort zone. You go to a firm event, you go, firm drinks. Sometimes they have these, sundowner cocktails, or a happy hour, or lunch, or whatever format there is. Or you go to a conference, maybe, or some sort of event, and you just say, I'll go there and I'll talk to at least one person, even though that's really uncomfortable for me, having to think about a topic, addressing people. But that's something; those are skills that can be learned, and that will never make you into, the greatest entertainer there is. But you don't have to be that person. But it will give you a better range that you can use in these matters. So I think that's something that you can do just on the go. You don't need to, have a special coaching for that or anything. It's just something, whenever you step out of your own personal comfort zone, it typically, I think, will make you better in terms of profile.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Just checking if we have any final questions. I don't think so. And we're on time as well. So again, thank you very much. It was a very insightful and very helpful presentation. And I just wanted to tell everyone again, thank you for joining the presentation as well. As mentioned, the recording of this session will be published soon on the Lawyering Plus YouTube channel, followed by a summary article as well. Our next episode is scheduled for the 3rd of November. We'll focus on networking. And we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.